So, Katie, you're a teacher.
Yes.
What is your favorite age group of students?
Probably my favorite age group is around the junior high school age, so from about 11 to 15.
Okay.
I think they're the most interesting to teach.
What makes them so interesting?
Well, they already have personalities, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like almost adults, but not quite adults. So it's interesting to see, like, I think it's just really interesting to teach them and see
Mm-hmm.
how they respond to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different from adults and it's very different from children, but it's kind of almost there, but not quite.
Yeah, that sort of
Yeah,
bridging age group,
yeah.
I guess.
So they're still young kids, so I can still teach them stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they're old enough to also do stuff by themselves. So it's
Yes.
like the perfect age group to teach, I think.
Yeah. Independence.
Yeah.
That's right. What about things like behavior and attitude? Do they? I just imagine that age group to be quite challenging. I mean, there's a lot of hormones going on, and
Mm,
personalities are forming. So,
usually in their first year of junior high school,
hmm
they're fine because they're still babies. They've gone from being the oldest kids in elementary school to like the babies
uh-huh.
at junior high school. But when they get to second year,
Yeah.
that's when they start getting like a bit moody, a bit hormonal, a
hmm
bit grumpy in
hmm
class. But then when they go to third grade,
Yep.
that's when they start becoming normal people again, I think.
So second year's the
Yeah.
challenging year.
Yeah. The terrible twos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that works in both ways,
Yeah, it
huh?
does. Hmm.
So do you have any particular strategies or tips for dealing with that difficult age?
I think why they're so moody is
hmm
because they're almost adults, like they're becoming adults.
hmm
So if you stop treating them like kids and start treating them like adults,
Okay.
talking to them like adults,
Right.
treating them like you treat an adult, then
Yeah.
they respond better to that than if you like just shout at them like you would a kid or if you discipline them like you would a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, just treat them more like adults and they respond to it really well, I think.
So you find they step up to they meet
Most
the
of the
expectations.
time. Most of the time.
hmm
Hmm.
Have you ever had any particularly challenging moments in the classroom?
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
Silly question, really,
Of
isn't
course,
it?
yeah. I mean, I've had kids like throw textbooks out the window.
Oh,
I've had
really?
kids like punch their fists through walls. Like,
Oh,
just, yeah, I've had lots of angry kids, but
wow.
they're very rare.
hmm
I've had lots of them, but they're rare.
That's yeah, an interesting.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah. In terms of like overall in a class, there's usually only one in each class
hmm
that's a troubled student. But
hmm
I mean, that's anywhere. That happens anywhere.
That's true. So how do you deal with troubled students?
I think that's a very difficult question. There's no like textbook way of dealing with troubled students in
hmm
general because every kid's different.
hmm
Every kid has a different problem. Every kid is acting out for a different reason. So
hmm
you have to find out why they're troubled, why they're acting out, and try and deal with it in the best way you can.
hmm
Yeah, don't get angry is probably my best advice, even
hmm
though you feel like strangling them sometimes. But
hmm
just try and be patient, try and figure out why they're acting out, and just deal with it from there.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, staying calm is probably the best option, isn't it?
Mm. And the one time out of 10 is when you really need to get really angry.
Mm,
That's the scary time.
yeah, sometimes they just need to know because there may be children with, just personalities,
Mm.
strong personalities, and they just are maybe showing off to the class,
Yeah.
being a clown, and they just need that one moment where you show them, you have to listen to me, I am the boss,
Mm.
kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
get your power back.
Okay, so Meg, we're talking about baking, and in the last interview, you mentioned cake pops and some other stuff. Now, you also mentioned truffles.
Mm.
What is a truffle?
A truffle is it's a little chocolate candy, or it can be not so tiny, but it's not huge. It's like bite-sized chocolate candy with something on the inside that's called ganache, which is can be a chocolate or a different flavor, kind of creamy or a little more firm, and then coated in chocolate. So it's a chocolate candy, basically.
Okay. Now, I sometimes hear the word truffles like something that pigs find under
Oh,
trees. Is it
yeah,
the same word?
different. No, well, same word, but those are a type of mushroom, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's truffles mushroom, and then there's truffles chocolate candy. So I guess be careful which one you're ordering if you're at the store.
Right. They have nothing to do with each other.
No, I mean, maybe someone has made a mushroom chocolate truffle before,
Right.
I'm not sure, but not me.
Okay, so are truffles easy to make?
They're time consuming. So I don't think they're difficult to make, but you have to have the time to put in because you need to make the inside chocolate part first and mix together the ingredients and then I always did it by hand, form all the little balls so that you can dip them in chocolate. And so one batch I could usually get maybe 60 truffles, so probably I had to spend a few hours working on a batch of truffles.
Wow, can you go through the process? Like, how do you make them from start to finish?
So probably my favorite ones are like an espresso chocolate kind where I need some chopped up chocolate, more like baking chocolate or really dark chocolate, or if you want milk chocolate, you can use it. And then mix that with some heavy cream and butter on the stove, and if there's any flavor you're going to add. And so if it's like a coffee flavor, you can add some coffee grinds and later strain them out. So it has that flavor. And then,
that's the inner part that
right,
you're making. That's
yeah.
like, what's that called again?
Ganache.
Ganache. Okay.
And so then you've made that, and so it's still pretty thin, more liquidy. And so you need to put it in the fridge to let it firm up that recipe can take a few hours before it's ready. And then once it's ready, I just use like a small spoon to scoop a little out and then use my hands to roll it into like a ball shape. And then let that sit. And I might have to put it back in the fridge because your hands kind of warm the chocolate back up. And then once it's out, you can use a special dipping fork or just a regular small fork and have some melted coating chocolate that you can get at craft stores, or there's fancy kinds or cheap kinds or whatever. And then you need to dip each ball individually and put it down on wax paper, like a special paper that it won't stick to. And then you let them, if you're going to add anything on top, like sprinkles or anything, you can do that. And then that's it, you're done.
Wow, and then you just put them in the fridge. You chill them, right?
You don't have to. They're better actually if you keep them out of the fridge, because if you put them in the fridge, then you maybe have to handle issues with it going from cold to warm. And chocolate, you might not know chocolate, if it gets too cold sometimes or like frozen, little white spots can come to the surface, and so it kind of ruins the prettiness of the chocolate. So,
okay.
Yeah, so you can just leave them out.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Well, I might give it a try, but it still sounds pretty
Well,
hard.
I'll help you.
So, Meg, I hear that you're quite the baker. You like to bake brownies, cookies, things like that?
Yeah, I love to bake. It's pretty relaxing for me and kind of fun, kind of a creative outlet, baking.
Well, everybody notices it in the office when we see you bring in brownies for your students, and we're all jealous. We wish we were in your class. So, what's it with baking? Like, is it just something you do to relax?
Yeah, well, personally, I love sweets. Like, would eat only sweets if my body could handle it, but I try to eat regular food too, so I think I inherited that from my mom. But so because I love sweets so much, it ends up being really fun making something like brownies or cookies. And for the creative outlet aspect, I love to make cupcakes or cakes, and I don't know if you've heard of cake pops, and
No,
decorate them.
what's a cake pop?
A cake pop is like a little piece of cake on a stick coated in chocolate.
Oh, really? That
Yeah.
sounds pretty good.
So in America right now, they're getting pretty popular. Some people are saying it's the new cupcake. So I don't know if you know, a few years back, cupcakes got pretty popular. And so now we have cake pops. And I was in the process of starting a little cake pop business before I moved to Japan. So it's really fun because you can make the cake pops, and it takes a while, but then you can decorate them in all these really creative ways for different holidays or parties or birthday or just cute things. So so the creativity plus something sweet makes it fun for me.
That's awesome. But what cake pop, is it like a corn dog but like a cake?
No, it's just like a little round piece of cake. So the process is you should bake a cake like normal, and then sift it up so it's just tiny little crumbs. So ruin the cake that you've made, sift it up till it's just crumbs, and then mix in just a little bit of like cream cheese frosting, and it makes kind of a dough, a formable, moldable dough. And then you mold balls, put it on a stick, dip it in chocolate, and then you can decorate it. So it can be chocolate or like a vanilla colored type. You know, you can have different colors, things like that. So.
Cake pops.
Yeah. So cake pops are probably my favorite thing to make, but also decorating cakes. I took a couple of cake decorating classes, and making frosting and using the special frosting tools to swirl it on
Yeah.
cupcakes or whatever. So
So
yeah.
have you ever made like a wedding cake or anything like that?
I did actually make one wedding cake. I never really wanted to make wedding cakes because they're very complicated and there's so much pressure for it to be extremely perfect because it's someone's wedding.
Yeah.
And so, but there was a couple that I knew who were just doing a really like low budget, cute wedding, and they weren't too concerned about it being a huge cake. They just needed something smaller. And so I did a couple of tiers, and it was actually a chocolate cake, so it wasn't even white. But so I did one chocolate cake, but I've done cake pops for a few weddings as like favors for the guests.
Wow, the cake pops are just the thing.
Yeah, cake because they come out so cute. I actually have a cake pop set that I can make where it looks like a little bride and a little groom, like a little
Right.
tuxedo. And so
Yeah.
those are probably my most popular ones for weddings. And I also, before cake pops, I was making truffles. So that's another thing that you can also decorate in a cute way.
Wow. Well, we'll talk about that more in the next interview. I'd like to ask you some questions about truffles.
Sure.
So, Sally, talking about ocean sports and being on the ocean, maybe you could talk about your ocean swimming experience in Ogasawara.
Yeah, I love swimming, It's so peaceful to be there in the ocean, and the ocean in Ogasawara was very clear, and you could see so many fishes, and I'd love to go swimming and be immersed in the ocean. It was like another world. It was very beautiful, but there was one time. Oh, that time.
What happened?
My friends had come to visit, and so we went fishing. But before they started fishing, I decided to go for a swim. And I swam, and I could see all the way to the bottom of the ocean. And I see this fish, but they're actually not fish. They were sharks. They were white tip sharks.
Wow.
There were 4 of them at the bottom of the ocean. And I just remember, that one thing you have to do is to keep calm. So I did that. I swam out. I told my friends, there are 4 sharks down there, so get me out of here. So they got me out of there. But my heart was beating so fast. I was so scared.
Were they dangerous, those sharks?
Well, they're not dangerous. They might be able to like bite a finger off, but I didn't want that to happen either. So as soon as I saw them, I came out of the place. Yeah, but that was so scary.
Wow. Ogasawara sounds beautiful and amazing and dangerous all at the same time.
That's right. So Mark, what about you? Do you have any encounters with fish?
With fish? Well, I remember that fish don't you remember when we saw it together? We were swimming in that beach called Kominato, and we swam out around those rocks where we always went, and we're looking. We had our snorkels on. It's all peaceful and pretty and like just tranquil, and we're looking at all the fish, and then suddenly that freaky fish like started staring at us. Do you remember that?
Yeah, with huge eyes.
Huge eye, and then it started coming towards us.
That's right. So in the middle of the ocean, we decided, okay, let's just split.
We
And,
split. We were swimming away from it, and it was swimming after us. This little fish, like
It was very small. It was like 30 centimeters long, but it looked really scary.
and we were quite far out from the beach, and we did split up, didn't we?
And
Like,
then what
I went
happened?
that way, and you went that way, and guess which way it went?
My way.
And
And
it
it's-
chased you all the way into the sea, into
That's
the
right.
beach.
So I was swimming really quickly and trying to get out of the beach, and it was very close to me, and I thought it would bite my toes, but it didn't do anything. But I can't forget that time that a small fish got me out of the ocean.
It was so weird, wasn't it? Like fish don't do that. Fish
They
never-
don't, and it was the only fish. Like there were no other fish around.
Strange.
Mysterious.
Okay, Julia, we're talking about types of people. We have some more that we can discuss. So the next one is worrywart. Are you a worrywart?
I guess when it comes to some things, maybe, yeah. Like sometimes I get insomnia, and I know it's because my brain is worrying about stuff.
Right, you just can't let it go.
Yeah, which is kind of why I took up yoga, meditation, because just calming down those, those thoughts that are just going crazy around in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be a worrywart if it wasn't for my yoga practice. I think the yoga helps me keep my mind calm.
Oh, cool.
But I have that natural tendency, I think.
Okay, so what about things around the house? Are you a clean freak?
No. No, I am messy, like ridiculously messy. I don't see mess. I don't see it. It's like a blind spot.
So you're a slob.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And this is the one thing that drives my husband crazy, because he's very tidy, he's very clean, very neat.
So you guys are yin and yang.
Yeah, he likes things to go in the proper place, and he likes things to be tidied up, put away. And for him, it's sort of a therapeutic thing. It's, I guess, the mirror of his mental state. If there's a mess going on, he feels uneasy, so he needs to tidy up in order to kind of be focused and calm. I'm kind of the opposite. If everything's too tidy and neat, I get a bit freaked out. I'm comfortable in mess. Very
good.
comfortable in mess.
Comfortable in chaos.
Yeah.
Well, that leads us to the next one. Maybe this relates to your husband. Mm-hmm. Is he a control freak?
Yes. Absolutely. He is, yes.
So can you explain what a control freak is?
Control freak is someone who likes to be in control, has to be in control all the time of all things.
And if there's disorder or something's left,
it causes him stress.
Yeah.
It causes him stress. So just simple things like maybe like a house guest. While he's a very friendly and generous and warm person, having an extra person in the house makes him uneasy because it's a factor that's out of his control.
Yeah. So how about other things like, are you a video game junkie or a TV junkie?
There are certain games that I have to take off my phone because they will eat away my time.
Right, like Angry Birds and stuff.
Stuff like that. The ones that just really simplistic ones, things like Tetris and putting squares in boxes, right, and Bejeweled, where you change, moving things around. Those kind of games I can get very readily addicted to. So I have to be careful. I had like a brief, intense fling with Tekken, that's like fighting games. I was really into fighting games and playing.
Wow,
yeah.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, but it was short-lived, and I felt it was like an unhealthy obsession that I had.
Yeah, you can just
But it was great. I mean, I enjoyed it when I did it. It was fun.